So this is Jonathan Joss. He's an actor. You may recognize him as playing the chief on Parks and Rec. He also used to do the voice of John Redcorn on King of the Hill. In addition to those things, Jonathan Joss was a proudly out gay man, married to a husband. And he tragically was recently shot and killed outside of his home in San Antonio. The shooter was a neighbor of his, allegedly this man, and that came at the end of a dispute between them. And while many people started immediately asking, is this a hate crime? Did this happen because he is gay? San Antonio Police Department says no. Despite online claims of this being a hate crime, currently the investigation has found no evidence to indicate that Mr. Joss' murder was related to his sexual orientation, which is really weird because on that fateful evening, there were only 3 people there. Jonathan Joss, the man who shot him, and his husband has spoken very loudly about what happened. First of all, there's some background and context you should know, like the fact that for years they received threats from people who lived around them, threats because of their sexuality, and people would say things to them like, we're going to set your house on fire, and then guess what? Their house was set on fire and burned down. And police reports have confirmed that they were called out to the home multiple times based on claims of harassment. Now, because their home had been burned down, they weren't living there at the time. They went back there to check their mail. When they arrived, he says that they discovered the skull and harness of one of their dogs that had presumably perished in the fire, strategically placed in plain view near the mailbox, as if someone had found it and put it there, and that was understandably upsetting to them. They responded to that in a visceral way. They began wailing. At which point, while we were doing this, a man approached us. He started yelling violent homophobic slurs at us. He then raised a gun from his lap and fired. Jonathan and I had no weapons. We are not threatening anyone. We were grieving. We were standing side by side when the man fired. Jonathan pushed me out of the way. He saved my life. Now, police have arrested this man and are charging him with murder, but they're saying there's no indication there's a hate crime. A whole pattern of times of calls, not to mention in the moment, him using slurs alleged by the one witness you have, that doesn't indicate that a hate crime was involved here? Just going after the guy for committing murder and not acknowledging the hate that drove that is dangerous. It is a way that this person's death will have no meaning and have no justice if he was killed in part, even if it was just in part, but in part because of who he loves and how he lived. That is a hate crime. Do the right thing.